guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you are brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for the first speed build since the release of the very first version of my save file. And I am going to start this speed build off thanking you guys profusely for all of your kindness. You guys have been so sweet, so encouraging, and just so excited with me for the release of that version of my save. And I am just, I'm honestly just so grateful because I did not expect that level of response whatsoever. And you know, at the end of the day, response doesn't really mean that much to me because I just am really proud of the work that I did, and I'm just so happy that so many of you guys enjoyed it too. So just thank you so much for being a part of that release and sharing in that excitement. And please tag me in photos, tag me in things like on Twitter, on Instagram, show me things on Tumblr. Like, it doesn't even matter. I am dying to see you guys playing with it. I know that so many of you were just like, oh my god, I can't wait to download this, and I hope you did, and I can't wait to see you guys playing around with it. And also know that when I first put it up, there was a linking issue because apparently the sim file share is kind of having some issues right now. I think they posted something about it, and there is a secondary like backup to download that. It's on Dropbox, and the links in the description should work fine now, just so you know. But this build is actually, well, you guessed it, for my save file, and this is Desert Bloom Park. So this is the park that is in Oasis Springs, so the second base game world that we have, and it's originally called Desert Bloom. So I actually didn't change the name because I thought it was really fitting, and I just really enjoyed it. And as you can see, I'm kind of trying to flesh out the layout before I really get into the landscaping details, and even before placing a lot of objects. What I'm making right here too, this is probably my favorite part of the entire build. So at one point I actually lived in Texas, and I lived about an hour outside of Austin. So I didn't live in the San Antonio area, but I did have a few friends there. And if you guys have been there, you've probably been to the Riverwalk. And granted, this is a very small thing that that kind of, I guess, reflects the Riverwalk, but I wanted to kind of make this covered little walkway near this pond, which technically it's a pool. So now that I think about it, your Sims may or may not jump in there. It's not for that, but it's technically a pool, so they may or may not jump into this little pond, which is probably going to make them look rebellious because this is supposed to just be a water fixture compared to an actual swimming pool. But yeah, that little covered kind of walkway, I thought, like, I don't know, it reminded me of the San Antonio, what, boardwalk? Oh my god, is that what it's called? I just completely blanked. But yeah, it actually reminded me of that in San Antonio. I really miss Texas. I don't live there now, but I really liked my time in Texas. So if you're from there, kind of let me know where you're at, because I'm pretty familiar with at least the big cities in the state. There are a few smaller towns that I'm familiar with, but they were just because they were closer to where I lived at the time. So I don't know. Texas is a huge state. If you didn't know this, Texas is giant, and there's a lot going on there. But now I'm just kind of sectioning off different, again, kind of quadrants. I wanted this park to be a little bit different than the one in Willow Creek, and I feel that's going to be a challenge for me in making other parks and other worlds, because of course this one's unique. I do think it's unique to Oasis Springs. It definitely has like the landscaping and just this kind of like desert vibe to it. I mean, it's in the middle of the freaking desert. But I was trying to steer away from quadrants because I feel like that's so easy for me to just get into. It's so easy to make kind of like this centerpiece and then just build different sections around it. But at the same time, it seems to work. I mean, I know nothing about architecture or like park planning. So if you do, definitely give me some tips and tricks because I'm looking for them. But I don't know, I just wanted to steer away from the quadrant, so I tried to break this one up a little bit. So as you can see, I've got like the kids' playground over there in the front. There's going to be a toddler section in the back. In the middle, there are kind of those like slip and slides because, I mean, we're in the middle of the desert. There's always got to be some form of like water relief, like water fun, I think, on most of the lots. And actually off camera, I built a community pool for this world already, which I really enjoyed. But since I had that community pool, I didn't want to put a pool here at the park. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to duplicate lots. I want them to all be different. So there is like this little kids playground, the toddler area, where those kind of, I suppose, shaded areas here, and this fenced in blocked area is going to be where the grills and picnic tables are. There is that little walkway with just like the pond slash fountain display. And then there's actually a basketball court, which I thought was really cool. And there are a couple of food stands as well as gardening plots and just some other activities for your Sims to do while they're here. And what I pictured was Sims walking around this whole thing, like around that centerpiece. They're gonna walk whatever way they'd like, but that was kind of what I was envisioning. And even with this low-lying fence, I'm not sure if they will walk over it or if they will walk like where I've actually put the breaks in the fence. Huh. I didn't think about that. I didn't actually test that. That would actually be kind of cool to know because it is low-lying, and I know that sometimes there are low-lying fences that will prevent your Sims from walking through them. Like they act as actual fences, which would make logical sense to me, but I suppose you never know. So I'm not really sure, but I also really enjoyed the landscaping in this build because it was kind of scarce. I wanted it to be reasonably green in some areas because I was thinking desert bloom. There has to be some greenery, some vegetation outside of just like some strings of grass and cacti. So I did want it to look really put together and really nice, and that there was some landscaping and greenery that was blossoming here. Now I'm pulling out some of the picnic tables and just kind of tossing them down there, and then I decide on some lights because I was realizing that I focused on it a lot in the Willow Creek park that I made for my save. However, I really was sorting that out off camera, and sometimes when I'm recording, I feel like this pressure to ensure that I don't forget anything because I hate saying at the end, oh yeah, well off camera I added this, that, and the other. It's kind of important, but you'll see it when you download it, whatever. Like, I don't like doing that, so I tried to remember everything as best I could, and that meant lights. So I tried to focus on that, and that's kind of why this build is a little sporadic, where I jump from this area to that area. I find things, and I pull them over here and put them over there, and it's a little chaotic, but at the end of the day, I loved the result. So I really can't wait to hear what you guys think of this. So as you can see, I included that little pond there. It actually came with Get Famous, and I put that, I think it's base game. It's kind of like a fountain feature, but I put it in front of one of the rocks of that pond because it really matched the aesthetic and the architecture in Oasis Springs. At least I thought so. And now kind of working on the toddler area. So in the park in Willow Creek, they had a sandbox, a slide, and the ball pit. But since I had the room here and I really wanted to use this because I don't get to use that item a lot, I gave them their entire like play area, their whole, I guess you could call that like a jungle gym for them, right? So they can kind of crawl through it, they can play pretend, I think they can play like a space adventure of some kind as well as like a pirate adventure similar to the kids on the pirate ship slash the, what's it called, like the I don't even know if it's really a rocket ship, but it's kind of like supposed to be that, which is what I placed here because that is what was originally was in this park. And I was thinking that Oasis Springs is really a mix of like modern as well as like Mediterranean architecture, you know what I mean? So I would definitely wanted to reflect that here. So you guys will have to let me know what you think, if I nailed it or not, and what you would suggest adding to a park like this. Because it was really tough. I didn't use quadrants, but I sectioned things off. And I actually kind of ran out of activities to include here. Even though I put gardening plots, I was actually really hesitant to do that because it's a desert. I didn't know how much would really bloom here. And I wanted to use the basketball hoops as well as the soccer ball, which I didn't end up using, because I wanted there to be some other kind of activity, but I didn't really know where to put the basketball court until now. Like, I was gonna try to put it in the front at first, but it just didn't look right. So putting it off to the side fit a little bit better, kind of having those two blocked off areas on each side of the build seemed to work for me. And now I'm putting out the gardening plots and just some more seating areas. And then I decide, you know, I may not like adding the vendor stations to builds because your Sims have to pay for them to actually show up. If you bring your Sims to this park, they will have to pay for any of the vendors to show up, and there's 3 of them that I end up putting here. And that kind of stinks. Like, it's 100 simoleons each. However, that seems realistic for a park, so I don't know, it kind of bums me out, but for the like for the sake of realism, I kept them in, so I hope you guys don't mind. You can pick and choose then at least. I think there's like a Mexican food stall, a Chinese food stall, and an Indian food stall. I wanted it to be really eclectic. I just feel like Oasis Springs is like a melting pot. I don't know why. Does anyone else kind of get that vibe? I feel like it's a melting pot of different cultures and whatnot. So I really wanted to reflect that, at least in the food that was available at this park. I don't know, maybe because Texas is kind of a melting pot. Maybe that's where I'm kind of picking that up from. I don't really know. That's a really interesting thought now, and I have no idea where it came from. But now I'm adding some lights around the outside structure, just around everything. I wanted the pathway to be lit, as well as all of the other play areas. So you'll see me putting like the night shift on and off to kind of make sure that it's lit enough. It's lit, fam. I just wanted to make sure it was lit enough. And I end up adding a little sandbox for the toddlers here as well, because, you know, that little jungle gym just didn't seem like enough for me. I wanted them to have like their blocks and a dollhouse and some other activities too, because I think there may even be a limit, like maybe only 2 toddlers can be on that jungle gym at once. I don't know. I think the limit's higher for kids on like their jungle gym pieces and whatnot, but not for toddlers. I'm not really sure. I don't usually have that many toddlers at a park playing with that thing, but yeah, then I just add some more food stalls instead of the multiple bathrooms, and that is pretty much it for the build. So I really hope you guys enjoy this. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you guys next time I post a video, and I will talk to you soon. Hope you guys are staying healthy and safe. Bye.
You got me acting out, you. All tenderness is out the window. What you do to me when the cold bites blue is straight cool. Oh, it has to be you leaving writings on the wall. Promise me roses and a hungry haze, but now there's only madness. Got me feeling dusty. Got me feeling dusty. I can't even whisper and it's hard to see. Don't take my hand and wake me and tell me it's a dream. A dream. Worst kind you've ever dreamed. Don't wanna lay another night here. Don't wanna walk another mile. I just can't. Please don't make me do it.